James Earl Ray. James Earl Ray is best known for assassinating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but before that, he was already a fugitive. In 1967, while serving a 20-year sentence for armed robbery at Missouri State Penitentiary, Ray managed a bold and quiet escape. He got a job in the prison bakery, a position that allowed him access to packing crates used for bread shipments. Over time, he observed the routine and realized that no one thoroughly checked the crates as they left the facility. On April 23, 1967, Ray climbed into one of the large bread boxes, and prison workers unknowingly wheeled him out with a daily delivery. Once outside, he broke free, vanished, and was on the run for nearly a year. During that time, he traveled across the U.S., secured multiple aliases, and eventually traveled to Canada and London. It was while using one of those fake identities that he traveled back to the U.S. and assassinated King in Memphis in 1968. He wasn't caught until weeks later at Heathrow Airport with multiple passports in his possession. The Texas 7. In December 2000, 7 inmates pulled off a wild escape from the John B. Connolly unit in Texas. They overpowered guards, stole weapons, and locked up 16 people in a control room. Disguising themselves as maintenance workers, they used fake IDs and walked right out. They even stole a pickup truck parked near the gate to complete their exit. For weeks, they stayed under the radar, robbing stores and living in an RV park under fake names. But after a segment on America's Most Wanted aired, their faces were everywhere. One was captured just days later. Another died during a standoff with authorities. The remaining 5 were arrested and later sentenced to death. Richard Lee McNair. Richard Lee McNair was smart, maybe too smart for prison. After botching a robbery and killing a man in 1987, he was sent away. But McNair wasn't done. His first escape was straight out of a movie. In 1992, he slipped out of a North Dakota jail through a ventilation duct, but was caught a year later. His most legendary escape happened in 2006. At the federal penitentiary in Louisiana, McNair worked repairing mailbags. He devised a plan to climb inside one of the bags, fitting it with a breathing tube. The mailbags were headed to a warehouse outside the prison. When the coast was clear, McNair got out of the bag and took off. Later that day, a cop stopped him while jogging. McNair kept calm, claimed he didn't have ID, and somehow convinced the officer he wasn't the escaped convict they were looking for. He got away. Again. Yoshie Shiratori. Japan's most famous escape artist, Yoshie Shiratori, made not 1, not 2, but 4 escapes. In 1936, he picked a lock at Aomori Prison, using a wire, and got out. He was caught and sent to Akita Prison, where he dislocated his shoulders to squeeze through a food slot in the door. That escape landed him in the notorious Abashiri Prison in snowy Hokkaido. There he waited for winter, letting the freezing temperatures weaken the metal bars in his cell. Over time, he bent them just enough to slide through. But the wildest escape came in 1944 from Sapporo Prison. Guards never cuffed him during shower time. Shiratori waited for the right moment, unscrewed a ceiling hatch using a bucket handle, and disappeared once more. His escapes turned him into a legend in Japan. John Dillinger. John Dillinger was already a household name during the Great Depression, a charming bank robber who made headlines across America. But in 1934, after finally being captured and held at the supposedly escape-proof Lake County Jail in Indiana, Dillinger pulled off one of his most legendary stunts. With nothing but a piece of wood and shoe polish, he carved a fake gun and painted it black. Then, bluffing like a pro, he used it to threaten guards and force his way through the jail. They believed it was real. He locked up more than a dozen jail employees, grabbed 2 actual guns, and took several hostages. But he didn't stop there. He swaggered out of the front door, stole the sheriff's car, and drove off into the night, taunting authorities the whole way. The fact that he escaped using a wooden gun became the stuff of legend. Even the FBI, who had made him public enemy number 1, couldn't believe he had pulled it off. Frank Abagnale Jr. You probably know him from the Steven Spielberg movie Catch Me If You Can, but Frank Abagnale's real-life prison escape might be his boldest con ever. In the 1970s, after a series of globe-trotting scams, he was locked up in a federal detention center in Atlanta. But a slip-up in paperwork changed everything. The prison never received his official commitment documents. That made the guards think he wasn't an inmate but an undercover prison inspector. Abagnale, always quick on his feet, played along. He contacted a girlfriend on the outside who posed as his FBI partner and dropped off a set of fake business cards and credentials, all carefully faked. He told the guards he was actually working for the FBI on a covert inspection assignment. Incredibly, the prison staff believed him. Without calling to verify, they escorted him to the front gate. He walked out of federal custody in broad daylight. No disguise, no fight, just pure confidence. El Chapo, Joaquín Guzmán. El Chapo didn't just break out once. He did it twice, and both escapes were insane. In 2001, he escaped Puente Grande prison in Mexico by hiding in a laundry cart, thanks to some heavily bribed guards who wheeled him right out the front gate. But his 2015 escape was next level. From Altiplano prison, his cartel secretly dug a tunnel over a mile long, starting from a house outside the prison and ending directly beneath his shower cell. The tunnel had lights, ventilation, and even a motorcycle rigged to rails for fast transport. Security footage shows El Chapo casually ducking into the shower and disappearing forever from camera view. Authorities didn't even know he was gone until hours later. Clarence and John Anglin and Frank Morris. Alcatraz was considered escape-proof until June 1962. Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, Clarence and John, spent months digging out the vent openings in their cells, using metal spoons stolen from the mess hall, and a drill made from a vacuum cleaner motor. They hid the holes with cardboard and paint during the day. For months, they also secretly assembled a makeshift raft and life vest using over 50 stolen raincoats. They crafted incredibly realistic dummy heads from soap, paper, and real human hair collected from the barbershop. On the night of June 11th, they crawled through the vents, climbed up plumbing shafts, made it to the roof, and paddled into the dark waters of San Francisco Bay. No one knows what happened next. Their bodies were never found, and to this day, people debate whether they drowned or got away with it. Alfred Wetzler and Rudolf Vrba. In 1944, Alfred Wetzler and Rudolf Vrba pulled off one of the most daring and important escapes in history, not just from a prison, but from Auschwitz. For weeks, they prepared by hiding food and building a hollowed-out space inside a woodpile. On April 7th, they crawled into the hiding spot, covered themselves with planks, and waited. For 3 days, they lay completely still as guards searched the camp. Once the heat died down, they snuck out at night and began a 10-day journey on foot through German-occupied Poland to Slovakia. After reaching safety, they compiled a detailed report on the horrors of Auschwitz, one of the first eyewitness accounts to reach the outside world. Eddie Bunker. Eddie Bunker, a notorious criminal and later an author and actor, had a remarkable escape from San Quentin State Prison in California in the 1970s. Bunker, who was serving a sentence for armed robbery, became infamous for his ingenuity. In 1972, he and a group of fellow inmates hatched an elaborate escape plan. They managed to seize control of a workshop in the prison, and after overpowering guards, they used a makeshift ladder to scale a wall and break out. Bunker and his partners made it out, but they didn't get far. Bunker was recaptured after just 3 days on the run. Despite his brief freedom, Bunker went on to become a successful writer, penning novels such as No Beast So Fierce, and even appearing in films like Reservoir Dogs. His escape is remembered as a bold and daring attempt, though short-lived. Stalag XIII-C. During World War II, one of the most audacious prison breaks took place at Stalag XIII-C, a German POW camp. In 1944, a group of British and Commonwealth prisoners, including squadron leader Roger Bushell, hatched a daring plan to escape. They dug 3 tunnels named Tom, Dick, and Harry, each running from the barracks to the woods outside the camp. The prisoners worked secretly for months, using stolen tools and making sure the tunnel entrances remained hidden. They used everything from bits of fabric to bits of furniture to aid their efforts. On March 24, 1944, 76 men crawled through the tunnels and escaped into the surrounding countryside. Sadly, only 3 of them made it to freedom, while the rest were caught and many were executed. The story of the escape was later immortalized in the 1963 film The Great Escape, and it remains one of the most famous and bold escapes in history. Please like and subscribe to see more videos like this.